Christina Perez. Brenda Daniels is suing boxing coach John Williamson in the amount of $425 after she says her son was injured in Mr. Williamson's boxing class.
All rise. Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Christina Perez presiding. Please be seated. All parties have been sworn in, Your Honor.
Thank you, Bernard. Mrs. Daniels, I understand your son likes to box. Is that correct?
Well, he did like to box.
Okay, and he took some lessons at the defendant's, Mr. Williamson's gym?
That's correct.
Okay, what do you do, Mr. Williamson? Do you specialize in boxing? Is it a gym that teaches kids everything? Why don't you tell me a little bit about the business?
Yes, Your Judge. I've actually had my boxing gym for 10 years now. I started it initially to help other boxers get their forms and technique down and teach them what I have learned over the years.
Okay, were you a boxer at one point? Or?
I was. Before I opened up my gym, I was actually an amateur middleweight champion.
Oh, wow. Good.
Yes,
Okay.
and I defended my title 5 times now.
Wow. Good for you. Congratulations. Yes. Okay. So naturally you started a business in what you were good at.
Yes, and later on I decided to start mentoring to the children in the neighborhood, a lot of at-risk kids, and I wanted to give back to the community and help out in that regard also.
Okay.
Before that, I was actually in the military where I initially got my boxing career started.
Tell me about the classes you offer to kids.
I got different age range. I have a 10 to 12-year-old group, 13 to 15-year-old, and then the others are my teenagers that are more at risk.
And do you divide them into age categories, based on age categories or skill level, for example?
Well, at this level, I divide them into just the age category because nobody's skillful. Everybody, comes in not knowing anything. And so basically I'm just teaching technique, I'm teaching discipline for the sport and for their life. I'm also giving them, exercise is a big part of it, keeping the kids fit and in shape. So most of the session, it kind of breaks up into increments. It's like an hour-long session. So for the first 15 minutes, we do stretching and we do exercises as far as running and endurance kind of activities. And then we do weightlifting, and then we get into the boxing techniques.
I see. So then the full hour is not boxing.
No. It's the last 15 minutes is where we spar off.
Okay. So then let's start from the beginning, Mrs. Daniels. You, who made the decision to put your son into this program?
Well, it was a combination. It was my son Jacob wanted to do it because his best friend Mark wanted to do it.
So then they joined a class together?
Right, they joined a class together, and I thought, well, my son's on the small side for his age. This would be good because it would give him some self-esteem. Many times I sit and watch, and they've had 8 classes. Well, on this particular occasion, I took Mark and Jacob to the class, dropped them off. I had errands to do, so I went and did the errands. I came back about an hour later, which is when I typically picked him up. And no one had called me on my cell phone to let me know what I was going to find when I returned to the gym. When I returned to the gym, Jake was there. It was clear he had been crying. His eye was swollen like he had a black eye. His lip was busted, and there was a lot of blood. And Mr. Williamson was holding a towel to his lip. But while he was holding the towel to his lip, in the other hand, he was texting on his cell phone. So, and that's just an example of the kind of supervision that he does during these boxing classes.
Your Honor, when
He's
she
admitted,
showed up, it was Armageddon.
Mr. Williamson told me that he and Mark, that is Mark and Jacob, had sparred. I thought, what? Jacob is 110 pounds. He's like my size. And Jacob is 80 pounds. So there's this huge weight difference.
So your son's 80 pounds and his best friend's 110 pounds?
That's right.
Okay, that's not what I have here because you would not have put them in the same class.
This day, it was only 3 kids in the class. Now, Your Honor, her son, very energetic. He bounces around. I mean, I'm constantly having to tell him to settle down, but it's just like he has this bolt of energy, and that's fine. He's a kid. But they both came to me and they were saying, hey, can we spar together? Please, please, please. And they're begging and they're begging. Mark is 110, but he's what we call in the business a spongy 110. You know, he's not solid mass muscle. You know, if anybody could be considered the strong one, would be her son, because he's lean and mean and much quicker, had so much more energy than this kid.
Coming up on Justice for All.
It just took 2 quick punches,
Yes, ma'am.
pow and pow, and her son laid down and just went to crying like he just got a whooping.
And later.
All right, so then what happened?
So ultimately, I'm here because after the year lease that I helped her sign was up, the company called me and asked me would I be re-signing a lease for her, and I told them no. A few months later, I get a letter in the mail asking me to pay all these bills that she's left behind. Apparently, she just left the apartment early. My name apparently was still on the lease.